Welcome to the Soul Seeker podcast. I'm your host, Sam Kabert. I started this pod back in 2019 when I was taking my first steps on the path of remembering. And at the time, the tagline for the show was a journey of self-discovery. A year later, it became a journey of remembering. Yet, what I know now is back then, I was still seeking. And what I've come to know now is that it's the journey of seeking that brings us the silent, slow stillness of acceptance. And therein lies our own innate wisdom. It's my mission now to eradicate the glorification of hustle culture, as it was my drive in entrepreneurship that led to a greater whole, and that's because I was outsourcing my sovereignty rather than looking within. So let this be your invitation to take a deep breath in and remember that at any time we can shift our thoughts and our feelings to create the outer world in which we wish to live. Soul Seekers, it's time to grow. Let's go. What up, fam, and welcome back to another episode of the Soul Seeker podcast. I am your host, as always, Sam Kabert, and this episode goes super deep. Guys, like, seriously, buckle up, because you might just feel some emotions. I think most of you know that I've been longtime listeners, or if you've ever listened to any of my podcasts before, like, what I'm all about is allowing yourself to feel safe enough to feel so that you can move through them. And in this episode, I definitely had some tears welling up in my eyes and as I had this conversation with Robert Paylor. And I was connected with Robert Paylor through a previous guest, Mike Pulaski. So shout out to him. I appreciate the introduction. This one, we go deep. I'm going to just go ahead and read y'all Rob's bio, which normally I don't read off of page because I like to be more in flow, but I really want to set the stage here. So here is Robert Paylor's official bio. Rob was paralyzed from the neck down during the Collegiate Rugby National Championship after a spinal cord injury left him with a prognosis that he would never walk nor move his hands again. Refusing to accept this prognosis, Rob embarked on an extraordinary journey of recovery, relearning life's most basic functions and defying the odds to walk again. Now an inspirational speaker, author, and resilience expert, Robert shares his powerful story and the mental tools that helped him overcome quadriplegia with organizations worldwide. Through his speaking and writing, Robert inspires others to conquer what paralyzes them and turn their adversity into triumph. His new book is called Paralyzed to Powerful. It is officially out just yesterday as the release date of this Soul Seeker episode. So May 6, 2025, a day to celebrate Rob's first book comes out. Not only that, it's the 8-year anniversary of his accident, of his injury. And he gets into the full story in detail, especially in the first 10-15 minutes here. And you're going to hear about how Rob was a D1 athlete at Berkeley, Cal in the National Championship of Rugby, like I mentioned, and how everything went down and his whole life changed in just 2 minutes. He goes on to share with us the mindset shifts that helped him to move forward so that now he can walk up to 400 yards again, despite being told he would never walk again, and he would be lucky if he could even bring a slice of pizza to his mouth by himself. Absolutely inspiring. Y'all are going to get so much out of this one. I am definitely going to have Rob back on the show. I'm going to introduce him to my friends that are podcasters so he can get on more shows as well, because I just love hearing stories like this and interacting with someone that is doing such great, powerful work in the world. So if you're new to the Soul Seeker podcast and you're enjoying this episode, or if you've listened to these before and you haven't left us a 5-star review, if you're gaining anything at all from the wisdom of these guests or anything that I'm bringing to the show, the easiest way that you can give back to the show is by leaving a 5-star rating and review wherever you're listening to this podcast. By leaving a 5-star review, it just helps the algorithm so other people can benefit from the wisdom as well. And of course, if you want to go deeper with me, the best way to do so is by joining my free, yes, I said free, Breath Club, where every week I will guide you in a live breathwork session and teach you all the tools that you need to know to rewire your subconscious mind and regulate your nervous system. With that, enjoy this episode with Robert Paylor. All right, here we are again for another episode of the Soul Seeker podcast. I am your host, as always, Sam Kabert, speaking with Rob Paylor today. I'm so excited to dive into Rob's story. And for yourself, Rob, for me, and for all of you listening, as we always do in this podcast, we're going to drop in with some breath. So if you're multitasking, if you're driving, if you're doing anything other than being fully present, it's just an invitation to come back to yourself and obviously be mindful of your surroundings. So don't close your eyes if you can't. But Rob, for you, for me, and for those of you that can, I'll invite you now just to find a comfortable seat, closing down the eyes, and just taking a moment to shift from the chaotic outer world into the inner landscape, and through the nose, inhaling all the way up, sipping in a bit more air at the top, and sighing it out. Again, through the nose, inhaling all the way up, sipping in a bit more air at the top. And a big sigh, letting it go, letting it go. And one last one, letting the belly expand as you bring the breath all the way up and sipping in a bit more air at the top, holding here, just gently rolling the eyes upward, letting the tongue soften and sighing it out, letting it go. Letting the breath return to its natural state and rhythm, and just flickering the eyes open. And Rob, here we are. I'm really excited to speak with you. I just watched your TED Talk, which at the time of recording just came out 2 days ago. Welcome to the Soul Seeker podcast. Appreciate you being here, brother.
Thanks for having me, Sam. I'm pumped for this.
Yeah, amazing. Well, for people that aren't familiar with your story, let's just get straight into it. Stage is yours. You're a keynote speaker. You're a TEDx alum, and take it away.
Yeah, let's go for it. So Robert Paylor, Northern California kid, born and raised here in the Sacramento Valley. And growing up, it was just hot summers and sports. I am a lifelong athlete and grew up playing like the traditional big three American sports of football, basketball, baseball, but really had a knack for contact. I'm a big dude, still standing at 6'5", but was always like just the biggest in my class.
Real quick, you're 6'5"? Wow.
Yeah, 6'5". So
all right,
we're getting up there.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, hair's thin up here, but I knew how to throw that body around pretty well. So football was like my thing. And I remembered like I really just wanted to go to a college that had national televised games. Like that's just like what I wanted back when I was like 10 and started playing. And then I go over to Jesuit High School in Sacramento, which has the best rugby program in the nation. I think we're at like 10 national championships right now, with them only competing for that since like 1999. So incredible level of success going on here. And they're not just like bringing home hardware. Everybody's having a great time. Everybody's playing. They have like an A squad, B squad, C squad. Everyone's like getting on the field, loving it. Like really cool culture in rugby too, that a lot of us in America just aren't familiar with because it's not a very popular sport out here, but very European-esque. Where like, I feel like in football, I would play someone and then we're like mortal enemies for the rest of our lives. But in rugby, like total opposite, it like made us stronger. Like it gave us stories to talk about. And in high school, we'd have like, Gatorades and pizzas after the game. And then, in college and when you're like drinking age, go to a bar and you're like talking about things that are happening on the field and just learning more about that person. So I love that. And Jesuit High School is a really natural pipeline historically to get over to the UC Berkeley team, which is the most successful collegiate rugby program in the nation with 33 national championships right now. And hopefully in a couple of weeks here, we'll be competing for our 34th national championship, with the tournament only being around for about 50 years. So
wow,
it's nuts. And if you want to go play rugby in America at a college level, Berkeley's the place to do it. And not only that, but the degree's great. to, I knew I wanted to be a business major, and it's like 2 hours from home. So it just made sense. I really wanted to do it. Eventually my shoulder gets tapped. I'm going to Berkeley. Freshman year, like I'm learning, I'm developing. Everybody was the MVP on their team, all Americans all around you. And I was developing in my position. I played lock, by the way, which is like one of the bigger guys on the field, kind of like tight end body type, not expected to like run with the ball a ton, but you're like cleaning up messes, getting your head in dark places. You're a workhorse. I loved it. That was my thing.
I mean, real quick, I imagine 6'5", because basketball is my sport. I also like football, and like football, like height wise, 6'5" is a monster. Basketball, like considering the NBA, 6'5" is like, okay, whatever. But with rugby, 6'5" is probably a monster, right?
It's pretty tall because you got to be able to move continuously for 80 minutes. So the more body you have, obviously, the more difficult that's going to be. So it's like, if you explain rugby, it's pretty much a game of its own, but it's like football in terms of the contact, the ball size, just the tackling and the way you're moving a ball forward. But it's a lot more like soccer in terms of like the flow of the game, the substitutions, like penalty advantages, stuff like that.
And the camaraderie.
And camaraderie. Yeah, big time. And like the international scope of it too. It's like, it's like Tampa Bay's playing Detroit and it's the world championship over here. And, it's just funny with these international sports, how we scope out a little bit more. And so anyways, big guy. I mean, for my position internationally, you might see folks who get up to like the 6'10" range. Now, those are like absolute cyclopses. But 6'5", I mean, I was almost always the biggest guy in the field. And my playing weight in college was 245 too. So, I'm pretty lean, but like I had a body to move around and I loved it. I really developed a lot. We get to my sophomore year and I earn a starting spot at this lock position, and we're having a really successful year and we're competing for a national championship. Brings us over to May 6th of 2017. So as an athlete, you dream of moments like this, right? I mean, you think about this for years. And when you become a national champion, it's not like you're just the national champion for the day. You are a national champion for the rest of your life. And that's a real badge of honor, something you bring your kids over to go see, a banner on the wall, stuff like that. I wanted this, not just for myself, but for the team, for my coaches, for this alumni community. And the opportunity was in front of me. I was ready to seize it. Now we're playing Arkansas State on this day. So I don't think they've ever won a national championship. And at this point, we're going for number 31 in our count. So we felt really confident going into the game. And it was very early on in this game that I was competing in a maul, which is when the bigger guys would group up in a single unit. And then we start pushing to advance the ball. And the defense's job is to come straight in and then try to stop us from moving forward. So imagine very much a boiler room. It's where big guys thrive. And like we said, I'm a big dude. Like, this is my moment. I'm thinking we're going to go to the film room tomorrow. I'm going to get a big pat on the back because I drove this thing in down their throats and we just scored within the first 2 minutes of playing this game. But as I do that, the opposing players, they start making illegal moves and the referee's not calling it. So first 3 players come in from the side, which are all infractions in rugby, things you can't do, but the ref's not calling it. Most critically, their number 8 comes in and he binds my head in a headlock. So now he's got my chin kind of pinned down to my chest. Imagine my back is kind of flat and forward and that head dragged down. Now, normally in rugby, that's an automatic yellow or red card. You do that, you're gone, but the ref's not calling it. And I'm thinking like, okay, there's only 2 things you can really do in a situation like this. One is you sort of throw your arms out to the side and say, hey, ref, what's going on? You're going to call this thing? Or number 2, you just keep moving forward. And that was my decision. I'm going to play through. And then as I do that, another player chops me down by my legs. So I start falling down. This guy who's got the bind around my neck is torquing it down. I can't get my head up. All of his body weight's on my neck. And I remember I kind of just closed my eyes. I grit my teeth, getting ready for impact. Problem was, top of my head hits the ground. Body keeps going forward. Pile lands on me. My forehead slams all the way down to my chest. I feel a god-awful snap in my neck. And then just poof, completely disconnected from my body, about collarbone down, pins and needles everywhere. very intense. Just that sensation that anyone would have when you wake up from a nap and your hand's kind of feeling dead. Everywhere, as intense as you can think. I did not lose consciousness for even a moment. So I'm on my chest in that prone position. Head is kind of tucked like down into the left. And I just start screaming. I broke my neck. I can't move. Insert expletive here. I mean, absolutely terrifying moment where I can't even describe just the change that you feel in that moment. It's almost like your life just broke off into a new branch, that you had all your dreams, you had all your plans and the way that you thought things were going to go, and you've just been born into an entirely different reality. It felt like I was living in a nightmare and I just couldn't wake up. Keep in mind, the play is still going on. The referee did not stop play. So I'm lying there like a corpse screaming, and they're just like, play on. So thank goodness someone didn't land on me, because if they did, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So eventually we score on them, and medical staff's doing their thing. Robert, can you feel this? Can you move anything? I'm like, okay, wiggle your toes. They put their finger in my hand. All right, squeeze my finger as hard as you can. I'm just like trying to do anything. I can't do a thing. They put me on a stretcher, and when my heart really got crushed, I was getting stretchered into the ambulance. And like, what does an athlete do in moments like that? Typically when everyone's clapping, they usually give a thumbs up, right? And I wanted so badly to give that thumbs up, but I was kind of like trying to avoid it because I knew in my heart I wouldn't be able to. And then one of our family friends was there watching the game, and I heard him yell, "Robert, give us a thumbs up." And I tried as hard as I could, and I just had nothing. And I'm like, I'm doing everything I can to not just like completely break down crying. And I get over to the hospital. They cut off my jersey. We do a CT scan, MRI, X-ray. Doctor comes back, bad look on his face. He says, "Robert, your injury is bad, really bad. And the reality is you will never walk again. You'll never move your hands. And we're going to do our best so that one day you can do something like pick up a piece of pizza and bring it to your face. And if you can do that, you made it. If you can just feed yourself, you beat all the odds." Now, he doesn't stop there. He recommends a spinal fusion surgery to me. He explains that the disc in between my C5-6 vertebrae ruptured into my spinal cord, and I had fracturing at my C5 and my C6 vertebrae. So the damage that was done to my spinal cord might only continue to increase unless we perform that fusion, really just permanently casting those vertebrae together to promote some stability and some hopeful regeneration. But he said it was a potentially life-threatening surgery. My body was already freaking out. I was holding a steady temperature at 103, peaked up at 105 when I was in that MRI machine. Not only that, but like the surgery is performed right here through the front of the neck. I got a scar right here, and they move the esophagus over so they can operate on the spinal cord. I mean, it's obvious, right? A lot of important real estate right here. If you're just a little bit off, things get bad quick. And he told me I had 30 minutes to make a decision. So first phone call I make is to my spiritual advisor. My faith is very important to me. I'm Christian, and in this moment, like I needed God to be a part of this. That way, if I made it through the surgery, I would have him in this path with me. And if I didn't and I died, I would feel like my soul was cleansed for heaven. And I mean, that's what was going on here. And so he says, like, he'll get someone out there to be there with me in person. But he gives me this piece of advice that just changed everything about my perspective. And it gave me something that I had some power over. And he's like, what happened to you is terrible. And throughout this whole journey, there's gonna be a lot of things that you can't control. But the one thing you can control is your mindset. So your positivity and your ambition and your willingness to wake up every day and take this on is up to you. And this injury can't take that away from you. So I didn't have a lot going for me at this moment, right? I mean, I didn't have a doctor saying that everything was going to be okay. I didn't have statistics on my side. The odds that I would walk again at that point were an easy 1% or less. And I didn't have any signs of life that were really showing up. But I had that decision to push out those emotions so I could make a clear decision to do what's best for me in my future, and I could keep moving forward. So that helped me get a lot of clarity around what was to do next, which was to have that surgery. Now, I have the surgery. It's very successful. I had to fight for my life after that. I had pneumonia, but I couldn't cough. So when we were doing these breathing exercises to start this off, what was going through my mind is there's a point where I couldn't breathe. I couldn't do that exercise at one point.
Weird.
I had phlegm just coating the walls of my lungs with pneumonia. If something got stuck in my windpipe, I couldn't cough it out. We had to have someone slam down on my chest to get it out. I had constant oxygen assistance. It was like death was with me in that room, just waiting for me to quit. So I think back to like that moment we just did now of like being able to breathe. And I was just thinking in my mind, I'm so grateful to be able to breathe right now. And I couldn't swallow anything. So I couldn't eat or drink. So we put a tube that went up my nose and down in my stomach. Not an easy thing to do, right? I don't know if you ever got one of those COVID tests where they like tickle your brain. Right. like that times 100. I mean, this thing was like a yard long to get down there. And I broke my nose so many times playing rugby. It wasn't a straight shot. I mean, this thing was, if I could have just been gripping the sheets, white knuckling it, I would have. But I mean, I was crying. There's blood going down my throat. But it was one of those things where it's like, if I don't eat, I'm going to die. And this is the only way that I'm going to be able to eat. So we're going to fight like heck to make sure this gets done. Control your mindset. Keep moving forward. I make it through that. And I get over to this hospital called Craig Hospital in Denver, Colorado. Super different outlook here. They specialize in spinal cord injury and traumatic brain injury recovery. I have a meeting with my doctors. They're like, Robert, yeah, what happened to you is terrible, but we don't know where you're going to progress from here. I mean, you might walk out of these doors one day and you very well might not, but we can guarantee you, we're going to give you everything that modern science and medicine has to optimize your recovery. You've got the full strength and support of this team. And they just gave me like that little glimmer of hope, you know, like a chance. And someone I knew was really on my team. And I went for it. I mean, it was 8 to 9 hours of really intense rehab a day. Hardest I've ever worked at something in my life. But I came into that hospital paralyzed from the chest down. And then eventually I could twitch a finger. I could twitch a toe. And they get me in these walking machines. And they're manually moving my legs. And I eventually, a year later, got up out of my wheelchair into my walker with their help, and I walked out of the hospital doors. And then I got back to Cal. 2 years there, I worked out with our associate head coach, Tom Billups, for the Cal rugby team. He came over 5 days a week. We'd be in the gym getting after it. I had a significant recovery under him. I graduated from Cal, got up on the stage and got on my 2 feet and thrust up that sheepskin. And I can now, I mean, for the people who can't see the video, I'm talking like an Italian over here with my hands going everywhere. I've made about an 80% recovery in my upper body. I can walk 400 yards in my walker now. And I've made my mission to share this story and share these mental, emotional tools that have helped me to persevere from those like mental, emotional forms of paralysis that face me. And it has become just the absolute purpose of my life. I mean, the physical recovery I've had is nothing short of a miracle. And I just feel so lucky to be able to spend my life now helping other people with whatever it is that they're going through. So that's my life story and what brings us here today.
Thank you, Rob. It is so inspiring, and just my heart, you know, like there was a few times there where I had some tears welling up, and you know, just so much admiration for you. And like I said, it's inspiring, and I want to get into the emotional mental tools, but before we get into that, let's just take a moment here and like address, let's call it spiritual bypassing. You know, a lot of times people will say like everything happens for you, everything happens for a reason, or you know, one thing I like to say is everything happens for you or with you, and other ones like everything happens exactly how it's supposed to happen when it's supposed to happen. All these sorts of themes, like would those have felt when this first happened, as opposed to how does that feel now?
It's so different. It's so like back then. So like my faith was always really strong, and I believed that there was a plan for me, and that plan was good, and that something so life-changing like this couldn't just be pure happenstance, that there has to be something going on here. And I was having a conversation with that same spiritual director who I talked right before my surgery. It was like a couple months after. And at that point, I was having some great physical recovery. But what was really like showing me how this was being used for good was the impact that it was leaving on others, and hearing people confide in me their challenges and how my perseverance through this was really helping them through incredible things. I mean, we're talking like stage 4 cancer, suicidal ideations, loss of loved ones, tough situations, how this was helping them. And I don't remember exactly how I said it, but it was something along the lines of, I know that like God kind of like wanted this to happen to me so I could give this good. And he's like, whoa, like stop right there. God did not break your neck. The player from Arkansas State who put you in that illegal headlock broke your neck. He has free will, and it led to this what happened here. But your strength, your perseverance, your trust, and the good it's doing for others, like that's God right there. That all things can and will be used for good if you trust in that mindset of things not just happening to you but for you. What's the lesson in here? What's the gift that I'm getting out of this that I can share with other people? And I think that perspective is so hard to see in the beginning. Like if someone came up to me on day one and was like, Robert, I know this really sucks, but this is going to be, you're going to say this is like one of the best things that's ever happened to you one day. I would be like, security, please escort this man out of my room. Like this, we have a crazy person.
You probably wouldn't have been so nice about it.
Oh, no. I'd be like, are you kidding me? Like my life just got completely destroyed. But now here I am coming up on my 8-year anniversary this May. And I just would not change this at all. Now, like caveat, do I want to walk again? Do I want to get better? Heck yeah, I work at that every single day. But do I wish all these experiences away, that I could just go back to May 6, 2017 and redo everything? Absolutely not, because this injury has given me really the greatest purpose I have in my life. This is a purpose that I would not have had if I didn't break my neck. So if that's the road I had to take to get here, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, and I love that your book is coming out on the 8-year anniversary. So for everyone listening, because this is being recorded in advance, you can go to the show notes and grab Robert's book, Paralyzed to Powerful, which it just came out. So that's super exciting. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And yeah, there's I guess there's some book writing stuff that I'd want to get into too. But while we're still on this topic, of how did you actually switch your, I mean, you had your conversation with the spiritual counselor advisor. Was that the thing that really helped you to see this as a strength and as a positive? Was that the thing?
It was big. I would say like there wasn't just one single thing though, which is important. Like it was a lifetime of really like pursuing greater meaning in my life and how I can use the gifts that I've been given to help others. Because I think, like those just like one like key pivotal moments are really hard to come by in life. And oftentimes our strength through adversity is predicated upon the strength of the foundation that we've built for ourselves before that adversity ever strikes. So I look back at my upbringing, and that like selfless component of my life was always something that was very there. I was always encouraged to like do community service, go like out of state to be able to go to impoverished communities and go help them, and just constantly think about like, how can I use these strengths and gifts that I have for the benefit of others? So when this injury happened, it was that same sentiment put on a way bigger scale, right? But like still kind of the same thing, just applied in a different way. And not only that, but I think part of it was I just had nothing to lose, I mean, I had lost my purpose in terms of being an athlete. I lost my identity. I didn't go from, I was a D1 athlete at one point, and then eventually I'm a quadriplegic, looking in the mirror, seeing the ridges in my sternum. Like, I mean, my body, I lost 60 pounds in a month. I mean, I was losing 2 pounds a day. I was like almost unrecognizable from my previous self. And I mean, I was just like, why leave now? Like why abandon that faith and spirituality that I have now. I'm going to let's stay true to this. It's served me in immense ways in my life. And the final thing I'll say to kind of cap this off is that I don't think having strong spirituality just gives you the easy path in life and just makes everything easy. I don't think it just pushes away your hardship. And we look at all the great spiritual leaders of history. None of them lived easy lives. I mean, immense challenges. And like I mentioned, I'm Christian, and I mean, the symbol of our faith is a cross. It's a torture device. 2,000 years, people would have seen that and chills would have run down their spine. But it's through that struggle and suffering that we have redemption, and the greatest act of love can be shown. So I think that rings true for all of us, that it's not always easy to see in the beginning, but it's really only through great struggle that we can have great strength and show great love to others.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because that was something that was coming up for me hearing you speak, was just reflecting on the amount of hardships that someone endures in their life seems to be equal to the amount that their soul, for me, I'm a big, I'm pretty woo, right, in reincarnation, all that, but the amount that their soul contract and their karma of coming into this life of what they can actually handle, and it's the ego it's the ego that gets stuck, and you're so much stronger than that. I do believe that we choose, kind of like at the movie Soul, the Pixar movie. Have you seen that one?
I haven't seen it, but I know what it's about. Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's so good. It's woo, I'll tell you that. But basically,
on my list.
Yeah, this isn't a spoiler, but before the souls get incarnated into Earth, they choose their personality types and the situations they'll go through, and that's exactly what soul contracts and karma teaches us. So I kind of look at hearing someone like your story and the amount of strength you have, being all of that is choosing these circumstances. And we would ask, well, why would someone actually choose that? And in the book Sacred Contracts by Carolyn Mace, she talks about Helen Keller, and she uses her as an example, and how the people that were in her corner came in together and they found each other in this little game of the human experience. And then we start to ask the questions of okay, well, why me, right? Victim mentality, victim consciousness, why is this so hard? Why would I ever choose that? And that to me is the piece that keeps us stuck.
It totally is. I completely agree with you. And yeah, I mean, there's just so much truth and just how big that foundational piece is, that there's a lot of pieces that are set up before we're even born. And that we're thrust into, they all just play such a critical role. So that's so important. And then to just continue to build on that too, and have just an active, intentional effort that we continue to take in our lives and use all those things that are happening for us.
Yeah. A big reframe for me too recently that I heard from Mary Morrissey was, things don't happen to you, it happens with you. And for me, hearing that, I was like, well, I've heard a million times things don't happen to you, they happen for you. But with you, it's it's empowering, to look at it from that lens. Just for a moment, touching on victim mentality and victim consciousness. I hold a lot of space for people. That's what I do. And a big part of that psychedelic integration. And there's usually a piece of where people are starting with victim mentality, and it's a low percentage, but some just get really stuck in that victim mindset. And I actually think I have a lot of patience, to be able to hold space for people that are that way. Yeah. And at the same time, it really bothers me, because I know that was something I had to overcome. So it's kind of like a trigger point. It's a highlight. So, it's a mirror. I'm curious for you, having your life experience, what does your patience for victim mentality look like?
Have you ever felt overwhelmed by emotions and unsure how to move through them? Sam created the Breath Club to help you find calm and clarity. In this free online community, Sam teaches how to regulate your nervous system through breathwork and process emotions effectively. Did you know that most emotions only last 90 seconds when you fully allow yourself to feel them? This is called the 90-second rule, and it's a powerful tool backed by science for emotional healing. Each week, Sam hosts live calls to guide breathwork practices and create real connection. You'll also get access to an online course and pre-recorded breathwork videos. The link to join is in the show notes.
Yeah, that is such a good question. I've never been asked that before, but like, it's so good because like I'll give a speech and like, a lot of times people try to like relate and like someone will come up like privately one-on-one and be like, Robert, I just want to let you know, like that message really hit home for me because I've been through this and I hurt my ankle really bad a few years ago and I had a boot and I was on crutches for like 2 months. And I just want to say like, I'm with you. And I'm like, wow, dude, you're not like, this is not the same thing. And that gets to me a little bit. Just like I wouldn't go up to some person who's like complete quadriplegic, can't move below their neck, breathing tube, and being just like, I've been through this and you can get through it too. I would just be like, come on, are you kidding me? I'm like, I need to take lessons from you. And I think the victim mentality, the thing that's really helped me in the moments when I deal with that, because I certainly do, is perspective. And it's looking outside myself, because if all I'm doing is looking at the things that I used to have that I don't now, or looking around, seeing a lot of able-bodied people walking, doing something I've worked very hard to achieve, and I'm just not there, I'm going to have that victim mentality. I'm going to say, why me? Why is this happening? There's nothing that I can do. The world, it just hates me. And it's in those moments when I look back to like that appreciation to be able to breathe. There are thousands of people in this world right now who would give anything to be able to breathe. And I think back to like when I took my first steps and like when I would give anything to have just the chance to be able to walk. And I look at other people in their lives, like people going through stage 4 cancer, homeless people just in terrible situations, something should never have to go through. And there's this phrase that I used in that TED Talk. It's very present in my book, and I use it on a nearly daily basis. The phrase that I use to help me have that quick perspective shift is compared to what? So you're like, I'm really tired, but compared to what? There's a lot that I'm going through right now, but compared to what? There's a lot that I can do. There's a lot that I do have. Now, we have to take a good balance with this phrase, because I think we can risk just dismissing our challenges when we say that. And I do not want us to dismiss our challenges. If we do that, it'll just ignore it. The challenge will never go away. But what it is meant to do is just kind of put our challenges into perspective to help us realize that what we go through is overcomable. There's so much that we can achieve. So when you're feeling that victim mentality and you're taking that audit and you can be like, okay, it's creeping in on me, and you think you might need to have a little more perspective, follow that phrase of compared to what? Look outside of yourself. Who are the people you know in your life who are going through really difficult situations? Spend some time online, listening to podcasts, reading books of people who are going through immense adversity, and use that to kind of inspire you to see like, if they can go through these intense challenges, so can I. So compared to what? Really powerful phrase. I think that helps with that.
I love that. Yeah. And that's something I'm going to carry with me and share with others. Compared to what? And it's such a healthy way of looking at like comparisonitis being the shadow. This would be like the light side of comparing,
Yeah. It has to be very controlled, because you can get too far and you could be like, I'm just being a wuss, like I just need to shut up. And it's like, no, don't do that, because all of our challenges are very significant. They're bothering us for a reason. So don't just like push it away. But I think it's just like an empowerment type thing. It's like, I can do this. And like just connecting with the people around us. I mean, we are hardwired to be in relationships, to work with others. And I think just like really treating perspective kind of like a muscle, like something that we need to like keep up or it'll atrophy, is really smart. And we just start reacting to challenges in our lives differently when we have that really healthy perspective.
Absolutely. And you mentioned earlier, like suicidal ideation, like having interacted with people that have experienced that. Just as of a few days ago, I've become a survivor of suicide again, a second
Mhm.
time. So been processing that, and that's obviously a very heavy one. I'm curious, like, was suicidal ideation something that you've experienced in this journey?
I was very fortunate where I did not. If you look at the statistics for people who have spinal cord injuries, it's very high, like like scary high, and a lot of it comes down to like kind of a perspective thing. I mean, people who have spinal cord injuries, usually it's kind of like in, teenage years later in life, often, and you have this reference point of able-bodied when kind of everything seemed like it was great, and then in this point where it's like it takes me 2 hours to go to the bathroom every night, and I mean, I cannot and I never will be able to do these things that I used to love. I mean, everything changes. And I mean, I've never, because I've never gone through that, and I've never like worked directly in like a coaching situation of someone who's suffered with that. I know the thing that I think really helped me the most was I had such amazing people around me all the time. And I mean, starting immediately in the hospital, my mom slept on a chair by my bedside for 2 months straight, and she was slamming down on my lungs when I couldn't breathe. And my whole family was there. We had my whole rugby team with me, like just on a rotating schedule. When I got back to Cal, because Berkeley's campus is insane. It's like hills for days. Like they make movies out of these things. They set up a spreadsheet of all my whole schedule and helped me get around campus. So there were definitely a lot of moments late at night, especially when I didn't have any distractions, and it was just me and my thoughts and my reality. And those are the moments when I struggled most. But it was once the sun came up and I could see people again, that helped me so much, being kind of an extroverted guy, to just like have those moments where I wasn't having to just deal with the immediacy of my challenges, but could once again just like be a guy with my friends, hanging out, being with awesome people.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And the friend that talks about like having your village, everyone needs like their village and their support team.
Yeah.
Was there ever a point with having this overpouring of support from your family, your friends, your team, and all of it, where you felt like you weren't worthy of it, or a responsibility that to get to the other side of this, or anything like that?
Mm. The one thing I did not feel worthy of was like a romantic relationship.
Mm,
That was really hard, and that's something that took me years to overcome. Like longer than kind of just coming to terms with my injury, longer than like finding meaning in this. It was really difficult for me to just look in the mirror and see someone who was worthy of love, because like we've discussed, like my identity had totally changed. And I used to see myself as like, I was like, hey, there's some qualities of here where I'm kind of a catch, like, like big dude and like D1 athlete and all that stuff. Like, that's cool. And, then I looked in the mirror, and I mean, it just atrophy everywhere. Comparing it to what I used to have or what I used to be. And not just
and
that,
that's the shadow side of comparisonize, what we were talking about before. So,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I felt a lot of that. And not just that, but like just the challenges I have to go through, like day to day. I mean, my day to day looks so different. There's a lot of things that I just can't experience that a lot of people are able to do. And for me, I don't have a choice. I mean, I either like get on and just kind of move on with my life, or I do nothing. And the person who signs on to be my life partner, that is a choice, and they don't have to take this on, but my wife does. And I remember at first we met, and I thought she was just like a beautiful girl. I'm like, I'm going to shoot my shot. And, so I thought it was just like a swing and a miss, though. I thought like, dude, she is like not interested, like move on. But that just totally comes back to like my insecurity issues at the time.
Mhm.
And lucky for me, one of my best buddies is now married, but at the time was dating one of her best friends. And he was like, dude, you're an idiot. Like, she really likes you. So we went on like a double date. We got some drinks, then had our first date after that. and rest is history. We got married in November 2023. But she just showed me that my worth and who I am as a human being has nothing to do with my physicality and my accomplishments and what I'm able to do versus not do. It's who I am inherently on the inside that deserves her love. And I think that just rings true for all of us, that worth we have is internal, and there's always someone out there who's there to match that and to be that life partner. So that was something where like I just didn't feel worthy of that kind of relationship, and having that has just totally changed the way I view me, I view my worth, and I view my life and what's in front of me.
I appreciate you sharing that and the vulnerability, and it's so beautiful and heartwarming. And this is a message like for any women listening, that you have men in your life where they're seeking, they could use support in finding other leaders, other men that are moving forward with vulnerability. Because for me, I'm such a big proponent of men's work, and just hearing something like that from you, like that gives permission for other men to be more vulnerable, and that's what we need. So thank you.
Of course. It's such a huge thing, and I think something that's like hard for us dudes to do a lot of the times. But I guess that's why that just kind of goes to show like there's so many amazing people out there who just like see past our vulnerabilities and what we think are our weaknesses. They just it's just like a side thing to them. They see like who we are on the inside. That's what matters.
Yeah, it's amazing like how much the world is changing. I mean, obviously there's a lot of things in the news that can keep people in fear and divided and things like that, but I don't see that. I hear about it from other people, and I see that that's their worldview. But the conversation we're having right now is my model of the world. I'd say 70-80% is inspiring, and it's vulnerability,
I know.
If you're looking for a powerful and transformative experience for your next event, consider bringing in Sam Kabert as a keynote speaker. Sam's message of soul life balance and his expertise in mental health and mindfulness resonate deeply with audiences. He not only inspires with his story, but also offers practical tools like breathwork to help attendees regulate their emotions and reconnect with themselves. You can even have Sam lead a guided breathwork journey, creating a truly unforgettable experience. To learn more or book Sam for your event, check out the link in the show notes to book a call with Sam now.
And like, you got to seek it out too, because like it's hard to find. And like you talked about, like you get on TV, start scrolling through social media, you see a lot of negativity, you see a lot of judgment, a lot of unhealthy comparisons. But it's out there. I mean, that's positive stuff that we need to feed ourselves is out there. I talk about this in the book. It's something that I'm really intentional about like having a good mental diet. Like understanding the quality of information that's going into our brains, like we're dieting. And like a physical diet, it's nasty in, nasty out, right? But if we just allow negative thoughts, negative interactions into our mind and don't intentionally seek that positive information, it's going to be the same thing. Nasty in, nasty out. I really try to bookend my days with like routines. Like in the morning, I spend 20 minutes in prayer, and that really like centers me around the things that I'm grateful for and like how I can like use this day that I've been given for good. And at the end of the day, like not just thinking about like, oh damn, I got to do this tomorrow. And like, yeah, that conversation was really weird. That didn't go well. But like thinking like, okay, what was I grateful for today? And that can be like big things. Like, hey, like how to like book launch went great, or that can be something small. Whereas like, you know what, like I was really grateful for my wife and I at the end of the night, just like sitting on the couch and watching a really good show. And I looked over at her and I thought like, how lucky am I? I'm like thinking of a small thing like that. Like that's a really good part of the mental diet. So I think that's like a good approach for all of us to have, to like really be intentional about that. Treat it like a diet, have an audit of what's going in your mindset, and have intentional things that you're doing habitually to kind of keep you above that equilibrium line.
Huge fan of that. The slowing down, the presence, the small things, the bookend, the concept and notion of it being a diet and being intentional, and the audit, in the audit, I would imagine that's also letting go and a removal of the things that aren't serving, right?
Totally. Yeah. I think that's a skill, just being able to like kind of neutralize negativity in our life, to sort of like recognize what it is, and not have like that emotional response if there's kind of like anxiety surge, foreign object coming in. What is that? But to really be able to like recognize that for what it is, realize I'm not going to like let this have that kind of emotional surge within me. I'm going to be able to like kind of try and neutralize it. We might not be able to like flip it and switch it, but I think like having that audit, it kind of builds that muscle and awareness, and helps us to not let those kind of bring us down so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk to us a little bit more about the book writing process. And again, Paralyzed to Powerful, that is Rob's new book, out now. You can find a link to it in the show notes, but talk with us a little bit about that process.
Yeah, started as like a COVID thing, actually.
Oh, cool.
I was like, yeah, so I'm like doing speaking. So I graduated in 2020, and I'm like, I took a leap of faith. I was like, I'm going to be a full-time speaker and really try and share this story and help people. And then COVID hits, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like worst time to launch a public speaking career, like ever, ever. So anyways, I'm like, okay, well, this kind of like opened an opportunity for me to start thinking about writing a book. And I could barely write like a 10-page paper in college, let alone like some 200+ page book. Just started going together though, and like thinking about tools that have helped me in overcoming this journey. Things like we're discussing today, like the mental diet, like compared to what, like knowing that you're worthy of love, and thinking like, okay, like where are the moments where these have like popped up in my life? Like I want to tell the stories of how they were born, how I use them today, how we can all use them, while kind of telling this also story of me battling quadriplegia, kind of chronologically there. So really cathartic process, honestly, because I had to put myself back in those moments in great detail. And one of the things that kind of just kept running through my head in this was no tears in the writer, no tears in the reader. I mean, I brought myself back to those really difficult places, but it's in those places that I achieved great transformation in my life, and they gave me a lot. So it really helped me to even go further into realizing how much of a gift that this has all been. And I'm just so excited to share it with others, because, you know, you kind of work in the shadows writing a book for so long. And I mean, like I said, like I started in COVID. This has been years that I've been working on this. I just can't wait to see the impact that it leaves on others, because this injury has given me a lot, but that doesn't mean that I would recommend someone break their neck so they could have this perspective and, you know, have these tools and stuff like that. What you really got to have is strong empathy. You need to be able to look outside of yourself, really internalize what someone else goes through, like struggles of your own, feel that connection with a fellow human being, and let those lessons change your life. So you can have these tools if you approach it with that mindset, really looking to empathize and look outside yourself.
A beautiful way there to just define what it means to hold space. And something that I've been feeling over the past couple of days, grieving myself over a few things that just came in. But, you know, it's interesting to see, like, when it's a family member or friend or something, and something happens where there's like grief, you know, and how we show up for them, because I think people want to be received differently. Some people want their space, others like I don't want to say the attention. They like the acknowledgement is such a better word than the attention. Yeah. But what would be, kind of from your lived experience, like what do you think is a good way to show up for someone in your life that is grieving?
Yeah. I mean, I went through an immense grieving process with all of this, right? And I think at first it was kind of delayed, because I was so busy in the beginning, you know, like I said, I was fighting for my life. So I was I had someone coming in like every 30 minutes to do some kind of check on me. Like I didn't sleep, and had a lot of people there with me. And I think that was kind of good, because if I took all that grieving like on all at once, then it would have been tough for me to like keep doing what I needed to do to just stay alive and all that. And I was just always had people around me, like all the time. I mean, I was always with a therapist, nurses in my room, stuff like that, for really the first year after my recovery. And then I get over to Cal. I talk about this in the book too. And I didn't want to have a caregiver, because I had gotten a lot of progress mobility wise, and I wanted to use that. And I remember, we kind of set up my room and I said goodbye to my parents, and my coaches and teammates helped me set up the room too. I told them like, all right, man, like I'll see you later, maybe do a party or something tonight. And the door closes and it just like hits me. I'm like, whoa, I'm alone. Like I just dove into the deep end of the pool without a floaty and I gotta figure this thing out. And there were a lot of moments where like I couldn't cook for myself. So like I'd microwave something up and try to get back to my room, and like my legs would spasm, food falls on the floor, trash, ruined. Or like something that you deal with spinal cord injuries, like bathroom issues. Like I have serious urgency issues. If I have to go to the bathroom, I've got like a 3-minute timer before that thing's coming out. And like there are plenty of times. In college, I used to wet my pants like every single day. And it's kind of humiliating. And especially when you think of like, gosh, I was here, just a year ago and, over on the rugby field. Now here I am sitting in a class, wetting my pants, like, and I can't even control it. And like, because I didn't have those distractions all the time. And a lot of the times, like in the end of the day, I'd be in my dorm room, just kind of by myself. That grieving began and I really had to come to terms with it. And I remember I had like a 2-second, 3-second video on my phone of the moment that my injury happened, because it was taped. It was a nationally televised game. And I would just play it on loop for like an hour, 2 hours, sitting in my bed, just watching this moment of when everything changed. And another one where my parents were there to watch that game. And I remember when my parents came onto the field right after my injury, my dad grabbing my hand and I couldn't feel it. And just thinking of like another one of those moments where I'm like, this is so bad. It's not just hurting me, but it hurts those around me too. And like I entered into that grief and I needed to do that. It's not something that I could just ignore for the rest of my life and, just hope it dissipates away. And I went through those moments, but I was so fortunate that kind of like in the hospital, when like the sun came up, that I could, I had my mission. I had some things to like kind of just like keep me on the path moving forward, going to my classes, have my workouts with our rugby coach, and a lot of friends around me, to where I wasn't just like stuck in my room, really feeling isolated and alone that whole time. But when it comes to like how people showed up for me, it wasn't anything crazy. It was just kind of like, hey, do you want to get lunch today? Hey, like I'm going to walk you over to your class, looking forward to seeing you. Like little texts, FaceTime calls from people who weren't in Berkeley. It just like, it kind of helped draw me out of those moments when I was really hurting and into just realizing like, I'm a really lucky guy. I have so many people who love me. And, I just have a lot to really be grateful for and appreciate. So it helped me kind of go through that process and just come to terms with what had happened to me.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. And we start to open up the door again to go a little bit deeper. But unfortunately, now that the Soul Seeker podcast is on a syndicated TV network and radio network, we're limited on time, but I would love to do another interview with you. We didn't even touch on forgiveness. I know that's a big aspect of it as well, because the person who did this, it was a legal hit, right?
Yeah, and he's never said he's sorry.
Right. I came across like a video or something, and you've also talked about how you've worked through that. We don't have time to get into that, but you've worked through that, right?
Yeah. And like, just to give like the 15-second thing, intentional process, just realizing forgiveness isn't all about just removing his negative attachments. It's about removing a negative attachments from me. So it was a process, like fake it till you make it thing that just became like something where I could truly feel and be able to move on from it. But incredible thing to overcome.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've had something recently of my own where I really had to do that in my version of what was going on. So appreciate you bringing that in, and congratulations again on the book. I am so excited to read it myself and for everyone listening, and just to see the impact you're going to make and that you are making. You'll continue to expand more. And it sounds like there's a big through line of teaching people how to hold space for themselves and hold space for others, which is so needed. So Rob, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the Soul Seeker podcast. And I'm sure we'll do this again.
Let's do it, Sam. Thank you for today. This was awesome.
You got it, brother. Congrats again. Thank you so much for listening to the end. I hope you got just as much out of this episode as I did. I really enjoyed this conversation. And if you are feeling inspired, a great thing that you could do is to support Rob with his launch of his new book. You can go to the show notes to find the link to his book, Paralyzed to Powerful, which is now available, and it's all about the lessons from his journey. Thank you so much, and if you want to go deeper with me, the best way to do so is by joining my free breath club, and you can find the link to that in the show notes as well. See you on the next episode of the Soul Seeker podcast. Thank you so much for listening to the very end. I hope you dug this podcast just as much as I enjoyed it. If you got anything at all, please, if you could just do me a favor and leave a 5-star review wherever you listen to this podcast, it helps the show grow. So thank you for considering to leave a review. If you want to go deeper with Soltara or Elan, you can find the links to connect with them in the show notes. And if you want to work with me, the best way to work with me, the easiest way to work with me is the free way, and that's by joining the Breath Club. The link to the Breath Club is in the show notes. And also know that I'm available for one-on-one support, that is coaching and guidance, as well as keynotes and breathwork journeys for conferences and events. Thank you so much, and I will see you on the next episode of The Soul Seeker.